be it enacted by the Fromberg Town Council, Fromberg Code 1-5-01, elections is hereby renumbered and amended as follows. 1-4-01, elections in terms of office. On the first Tuesday following the first Monday of November of every odd year, a municipal election shall be held at which qualified electors of the municipality shall elect the officers of the municipality. The mayor shall hold office for a term of 4 years and until qualification of his or her successor. Each council member shall hold office for 4 years, but the terms of the council members shall be staggered so that 2 council members will be elected every 2 years. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect 30 days from and after passage and approval on second reading. This refers to the state statute requirements under MCA 7-4-4302 and 7-4-4402. I think the elections board over there at the county is always mandatory. So we're just making it consistent with state law.
I make a motion to accept 495 for first reading.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to accept and approve ordinance number 495 for the first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Ordinance number 496, an ordinance repealing Fromberg Code sections 1-5-11, polling place, 1-5-20, election officials, 1-5-21, certificates of nomination, 1-5-22, filing of certificates, 1-5-23, limitations, 1-5-24, certificates to be presented, 1-5-25, filing fee, 1-5-26, candidates declining, 1-5-27, vacancies, 1-5-31, interference with electors, and 1-5-51, registration for special elections, be enacted by the Fromberg Town Council, Fromberg Code sections, the ones I just read. These, well, being enacted by the Fromberg Town Council, Fromberg Code sections, like I said, the ones I just read. These sections are repealed because the topics of these code sections are already covered by MCA Title 13 election procedures. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect 30 days from and after passage and approval on second reading. I would note one other benefit of repealing these, because they're verbatim in state statutes. Every time the state changes their statutes, you don't have to go back and change these. Because you just refer them to the state statute and they can follow that statute.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 496.
I second.
A motion and a second to approve first reading of ordinance number 496. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Ordinance number 497, an ordinance setting forth requirements for town ordinances, being enacted by the Fromberg Town Council, Fromberg Code sections 1-6-01, ordinance requirements, is hereby renumbered and amended as follows. 1-5-01, ordinance requirements. All ordinances must be submitted in writing in the form prescribed by the Town Council. 2. No ordinance shall contain more than one subject except ordinances for the codification and revision of this code. The subject of an ordinance shall be clearly expressed in its title. 3. An ordinance must be read and adopted by a majority of the members present at 2 meetings of the town, not less than 12 days apart. Refers to MCA 7-5-103, which is based on this ordinance shall be in full force and effect 30 days from and after passage and approval on second reading.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 497, first reading.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 497 first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Ordinance number 498, an ordinance repealing Fromberg Code section 1-6-02, ordinances amending the municipal code. Be it enacted by the Fromberg Town Council, Fromberg Code sections 1-6-02, 02, ordinances amending the municipal code is hereby repealed. This topic is already covered by the language of 1-6-01 ordinance requirements. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect 30 days from and after passage and approval on second reading.
Make a motion to approve first reading of ordinance 498.
Have a motion and a second to approve first reading ordinance number 498. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Ordinance number 499, an ordinance repealing Fromberg Code section 1-6-03, section numbers within the municipal code, and enacted by the Fromberg Town Council. Fromberg Code sections 1-6-03, section numbers within the municipal code is hereby repealed. This numbering requirement is redundant. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect 30 days from and after passage and approval on second reading.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 499.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve first reading ordinance number 499. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Ordinance number 500, an ordinance providing for the effective date of ordinances and resolutions, being enacted by the Fromberg Town Council, Fromberg Code sections 1-6-03, effective date of ordinances and resolutions is hereby renumbered and added to the town code as follows. 1-5-03, effective date of ordinances and resolutions. Number 1, an ordinance passed by the council may not become effective until 30 days after its passage, except A, general appropriation ordinances providing for the ordinary and current expenses of the municipality, and B, emergency measures. 2, a resolution is immediately effective unless a delayed effective date is specified in the resolution. This refers to the prior code 1-6-05 and Montana statute requirements 7-5-4203. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect 30 days from and after passage and approval on second reading.
Since I got it, I'll make the motion to approve first reading of ordinance 500. Second ordinance.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve of first reading ordinance number 500. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Ordinance number 501, or 01. An ordinance providing for emergency ordinances being enacted by the Fromberg Town Council, Fromberg Code sections 1-6-04, emergency ordinances is hereby renumbered and added to the town code as follows. 1-5-04, emergency ordinances. In the case of emergency ordinances, the nature of the emergency must be expressed in the preamble or the body of the measure, and the measure must receive a 2/3 vote of all the council members. Emergency ordinances shall only include measures as are immediately necessary for the preservation of peace, health, and safety. This refers to prior code 1-6-05 and the Montana statute requirements 7-5-4204. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect 30 days from and after passage and approval on second reading.
Can I ask a question? What would be an example?
Well, there was a flood over in Joliet where they had to act immediately, and it had to do with a certain procedure they were following to address the flood situation. And emergency ordinances are usually only 6 months in duration unless it can be extended by vote. Another example, there are emergency ordinances or interim ordinances under the zoning code that you had voted on, those lapsed without being renewed. But back when we figured out we didn't really have the appropriate enforcement mechanisms in place, that needed to be in place as soon as possible.
So that would be an emergency ordinance.
Well, it's specifically allowed for under the zoning statutes in Montana for that kind of emergency.
and.
It's where you can't
and
wait for
it's-
2 months to
Right.
get the ordinance in place and start enforcing it.
Yeah. Thank you. Make a motion to accept the first reading of ordinance 501.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the ordinance, first reading ordinance number 501. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance number 502, an ordinance amending 1-6-05, posting of ordinances to change the time period for posting ordinance amendments prior to first reading. Being enacted by the Fromberg Town Council, Fromberg Code Sections 1-6-05. Posting of ordinances is hereby renumbered and amended as follows. 1-5-05, posting of ordinances. Every ordinance shall be posted in 3 of the most public places of the town of Fromberg 14 days prior to the first reading of the ordinance. The ordinance shall be declared official upon passage and approval after the second reading. Prior Code 1-6-06. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect 30 days from and after passage and approval on second reading. Understand these will be posted for 2 months. It'll be 14 days prior to first reading, well actually 2.5 months. They'll be posted, okay? So 14 days prior to the first reading, all the way through until it's passed 2 months later.
And what you're reading tonight was posted 2 weeks ago.
No,
the
it's
second
actually
reading.
posted much longer than that.
Yeah.
But it would have to have been.
Yes,
Yeah.
It'd be a month and a half.
what's that?
It'd be a month and a half. But once the second reading's over with, it's passed.
Yeah, it would be. Okay, month and a half. Thank you, Aaron. Keeping me honest, aren't you?
Make a motion to accept the first reading of ordinance 502.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve first reading of ordinance number 502. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
It's all of them?
Tonight. Do you think this is too much
No.
at one meeting?
No.
It'll get slowed down once we get into more controversial issues.
Yeah, we
I'd
need,
say
we
I'm
need
closer.
to, we need to get it going forward and get it done, and this is.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Well, we've already gotten through
5.
close to 5, haven't we?
5's done.
But we'll put them on. Keep meeting.
Okay.
And things will come up though in the meantime, like,
Public comment?
no, like immediate issues, rather than waiting a whole year to get to zoning, where we might want to move that
I
up,
agree.
Right,
okay?
yeah,
So that we get something in place, so maybe after 5, we'll just go right into zoning.
yeah.
But that'll be
So we wanted to
requiring
jump
a
in,
public hearing prior to even the first reading.
So we wanted to get taken care of the health and welfare part
Yeah.
before we did the zoning.
Makes sense.
I think that's a good idea, that we can take care of
And I
the
think
dogs at large and the animal thing later.
there's some issues, I think, also under Public Works
Yes.
with billing and shut off. So we address that now. I think it's a real measure that we need to get in place and start enforcing consistently to get a handle on these delinquent bills.
Yes,
Because if you have a procedure in place where you give them notice, if your bill's delinquent for such a period of time, we'll give you another notice at the end of that, and then
Billing
a shut
period.
off notice. You have 2 weeks or whatever to pay this. If you don't pay it, you're gonna be shut off.
right,
And then if you consistently do that, then you're not letting people run up.
Right,
Really?
we need,
Draw
we
line
need teeth.
forward.
Yeah, exactly. And if you make exceptions for one, you're gonna get back into keeping a separate set of records.
yeah.
Say, oh, we gave him until, see what I mean?
Yeah, and we don't wanna do that. It's gotten to the point where, we have so much delinquency as it is. And then for so many years, it was like, well, just pay what you can
Yeah,
and, you know,
exactly.
and, no, we
That's-
don't wanna do that.
It's too much.
And there are some circumstances, I understand that, where people are very limited or they have huge medical bills or something like that, but those are things that we can look at on an individual basis.
But we'll be meeting and talking about that in the ordinance
Yeah.
committee meeting.
We also went forth on some of the fines and stuff to try to make that first fine a little bit more stiffer to try to get people to pay attention to what happens. So that first one's not just a
Well, we
slap on the
also
hand
need to
like, here,
talk
get
about-
out of my way.
Yeah, and we
Fees.
also need to discuss, probably at a workshop,
Fees,
pardon?
fees?
Fees, yes, but also, we have, several people with small children in certain areas of town, and we can track that are putting so-called disposable tissues and handy wipes and things like that in the sewer. The new sewer system does not chew those fiber-infused tissues up. And so therefore, then we always have to go out there in the little rowboat and get all that crap out of there.
You can track that to a toilet?
Yes, we can.
Really?
Yes, we can. We've done it before. So, we need to talk about that kind of, because that's tampering actually with public utilities.
Yeah.
And there are fines in place for that.
On that. So-
Yeah,
Mhm.
so, and
Or-
people that turn off their own water meters, you know, they go out and turn off their water meters, because if you lift the lid, there's a place where you can just shut off the meter. And then they'll say, well, I didn't use that water, so I'm not, you know, there's always an excuse. So,
I'm trying to
there's some
those-
things that we need to look at.
and check.
Yeah,
It's just gonna be in batches, because you can't do 50 of them
Right.
at one time. And I did get a call today on one of them.
yeah,
I
that's.
think we already did.
Public comment, didn't we?
Well, we did on,
Oh.
yeah, at the beginning on,
Not-
on,
not on the
but
agenda.
not on this stuff. And so, is there any other public comment that wasn't addressed on the agenda?
I have public comment. It has to do with the engineering report that was quoted, last meeting, or not quoted. I do have a copy of it at home, and, it was 87,000 or whatever, with 3% interest for each year, past that date. So, as of right now, for the redundant water supply, it would be roughly $103,000, according to that quote, with the adjustments and the interest, and that included materials. It is in the engineering report.
Yes, and I have discussed that with our engineering, company, and Chad informed me that that $80-some thousand was not for boring across the highway or anything else. It was only for the casing. That was the only thing that covered. You cannot bore across the highway, put in line and fittings and everything else for $80,000. I am sorry.
That's what it says in the report.
Well, it's not.
I have a copy at home.
I have one too. And so, and then we have some in the office.
I would suggest that we get a full report from the engineer in writing soon.
Current report, not like 10 years old.
What's that?
Yeah,
Current
that,
report you're talking
the
about 10 years
I
report
know
you're
that,
talking
but
about was
they-
written 10 years
They
ago.
adjust, that's right, but they adjusted the expense 3% roughly for each year. So it'd be
Well-
$103,000
We are
this
going,
year.
Is he referring to a preliminary engineering report
yes,
that was drafted?
yes,
10
it
years
was
ago?
just a draft, it wasn't set in stone at that point. The actual engineering report is in the office, I have a copy, and I
Is this-
don't know who else has a copy.
Is this anything that we're even interested in doing in the next year?
The only, I think the reason this was brought up was because there was a big issue about taking the water line under the
Right,
highway
But
across.
we're not gonna be doing that this year.
Probably not,
No.
but we are in the works. I have been working diligently with engineers and grant writer. And we are ready to put those, submit the applications and put them in place,
Yeah.
like right away.
Okay.
I've set up a meeting on June the 12th to discuss that with the council, and it will be a meeting where everybody can come and talk.
Sure.
But we are applying for funds to do that.
Okay.
And the main reason we're doing that is because we want to go across, we want to go ahead around town, put in new fire hydrants, replace them with new hydrants, put in gate valves, shut-off valves, and that kind of thing, so we don't have to string a fire hose from one hydrant 300 feet down the street
So
to put out a fire.
this process is gonna be entangled into
That
that.
that will be entangled in with
Okay.
this grant process that we're going through, and we want to get that submitted as soon as we can.
So do we not need to know the numbers before we ask for the grant?
We are, the only numbers that we can apply for right now is a $750,000 grant, and that will more than take care of the work that we want to
Okay.
do. But it has to be specific.
Right.
And that's what we leaned toward, was the water line and fire hydrants and correcting some of that. And he also was thinking maybe put another lateral line down East River to offset, just, you know. Yeah, Aaron?
I would like to see an engineering report detailed out, not just a general
There's one in
statement.
the office, if you'd like to sit and take a look at it, you certainly can.
Is that
Is it
the
detailed?
10-year-old one?
No, it's the one that we got when we applied for all the grants and everything, and we got
How
all
old
the
are you
grant
now?
money. Probably 4 years old, 5.
Give you an idea. What would give you
It passes
today's?
the whole sewer pond
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
Are you talking about a water
The water,
PER?
We didn't have one for water. It was
Okay.
all done with the sewer lagoon and the grants for that.
but we're making statements saying that 700 will take care of it.
And,
Yeah.
and that, yes, 750, and the engineer will write up a report and everything, and that will be ready to go when the grants are applied for. And then that, you know, the council will be,
We don't know what that number is yet.
no. We just know that right now, I believe, from the information that I've gotten, is that we can apply for a $750,000 grant. Now, whether we get that much or not, it just depends on what we are awarded.
But grant writer wanna see the proposed bid though, before
All
they,
right, so Chad said what we needed to do, and it would only take a little bit of time, is he is going to actually tweak the actual report that we did for the lagoons, and the state said that would work.
Okay.
So, and he will be here on the 12th of June at a meeting with the council, because I wanted him to come here, because I'm
Makes
not an
sense.
expert on that kind of stuff.
All right.
And I wanted him to come, and the grant writers, so that they could explain fully, because they have the knowledge as to what is going to
They're gonna
happen with
expect.
that. Yes. Yeah, right.
I'm just, only reason I wanna see it is because we have an audit from an auditor that had no clue what he was bidding and assumed.
Well,
So-
that was the auditor's fault,
Hey,
because it expressed, it was,
Go ahead, just have your own meeting with yourself.
no, it was.
You were interrupting, so
No,
No.
I'll shut up and go ahead.
never mind.
I know why you want to see that, but you had a question, so go ahead and ask it.
No, you got it on the agenda, you wanna talk over the top of everybody, so.
I don't have an agenda, and I'm not talking over everyone, so please, go ahead.
I'm done.
I have a question. That lagoon PER thing that was 4 years ago, did it include the redundant water supply that was in the water PER 10 years ago?
The PER was written or prepared, it's a draft, that was written almost 11 years ago, actually. The actual engineer's report, the final report, was in the office, and it didn't, I don't believe that it had anything about going across the highway or redundant water line going under the
So then
highway.
therefore, we're right back to the document 11 years ago, which means we still have to have communication with the engineer and have to have another bid written up. Otherwise, all of this is nothing.
Well, the grant writer is gonna tell us what we need.
You still have to have a quote, and you might as well
They
start
will tell
with
us what we'll need, so we should wait
And
for that.
Elton, that
Then we know
information
how to
will-
go about
yeah,
it.
that information, Dave's right, that information will be given, what we actually need dollar-wise in order to get this project done.
Yeah.
Well, so you're going to definitely
Everybody.
include the redundant water supply and reworking the hydrants.
Yes.
So in that case then, it still doesn't make any sense. You're still gonna have to have bids. I don't know why you don't get the process going.
We
Because we
can't,
don't know what to bid yet until they tell us what they need. Why do you have a problem
The town will
waiting
tell
for
them
them
what
to
they
tell us
need.
what we need?
No,
Let
the
me,
town says what we need.
if I may,
yes, please, go ahead.
my experience with what Joliet has gone through, what Bridger's gone through, you're talking, you've got the sewer project already done, okay? That was a whole separate engineering and so forth. And you had a PER prior to even doing that.
Right.
And those PERs cost between 10 and 15,000. What I think Shirley's planning on doing is bringing in Chad from Great North, is it Great West?
Yes.
To explain the PER procedure and perhaps getting a grant for that unless you have the money for a PER. Getting the PER, which identifies all the needs of the water system currently there, puts a tentative price on it, okay? Then at that point, you look for funding for that project.
That's what
And bill it,
Okay.
and
Exactly.
bids.
And
Exactly.
bids, and then you get into
We'll
the
put the
bidding
cart before the horse.
process.
And,
I agree,
right.
but you
and-
have to select also your engineer to do the
Right.
BER.
Right, and that would be Great West because he's saying that we've already got this written up, so all we need to do is tweak that part of the engineering report, which would cost us probably about $10,000. And we could apply for a grant up to $50,000. He's thinking that the total cost, including engineer's report and the bid process and things like that, will not come to $750,000.
And that's if you get the grant.
Right, and that's only if we get the grant, but we want to get started as soon as possible so that we can move forward on it.
Isn't there a chance that what we had done for the lagoon, there's some of that information that can be
Yes,
used in
and
this
that's-
process?
right,
That
and
we
that's
wouldn't
what
have to
he's-
pay for?
And that's
It's
what he's
already
saying,
done.
is that to tweak it might be about 10,000.
I think what
But
he's talking about doing is going back and tweaking the 10-year-old PER.
That might be.
Not tweaking, but
Right,
But he
that's
will,
what I'm saying.
he will be more specific
Yeah.
when he comes and talks to the council or anyone else that's interested in that. And Craig will also be here to explain the grant writing process, what we will go through. The thing that I was excited about was there are no matching funds. We don't
Nice.
have to come up with money to match
That's
any
huge.
amount of that grant if we can apply for it and we get that grant. So, that's what we're looking at right now, is working on those grant funds to get those applications in, get them submitted, and get our information done so we can move forward with this. Because to me, it's a big health issue, or a safety issue, that we don't have fire hydrants that are up to date, and we don't have gate valves on any of them, and we need to have that process taken care of, so that if we do have a fire, like in Bridger today, where a structure burned to the ground, and we've had two of them here. We had the Cowboy Bar, and there was a hydrant right on the corner, but it still burned to the ground because they didn't have whatever. And then we have all over the east side of town. And Mike said they had to put together, we lost a house over there on Blewett a couple of years ago. A man died in that fire, but Mike said they had to string together hoses for like 300 feet from a hydrant over on Lover's Lane to get that fire out. So we need to have those hydrants placed a little closer so that we can take care of emergencies like that water.
Are we gonna get that hydrant that's not working replaced with the hydrant we have sitting around?
I'll have to, yeah, I need to talk to Jeremy about that. And he's going to have some schooling on replacing that fire hydrant, because I'm not sure he knows all the ins and outs about that. So, if we have anybody, volunteers or anybody that knows about fire hydrants and replacing them, step up and give us a little advice on it.
I know Spencer had said something last time that he could give him a little.
There's a gentleman over at the fire department right now, he's in that red truck, he's with MSU Fire, the fire instruction department. If somebody has a chance tonight before he leaves, I'd go talk to him, he's the state guy.
Okay. Good.
If this, on another subject, as long as we're in public comment, at the Tillotson conference that involved council members, mayors, clerks, city attorneys. They gave a whole legislative update on everything that's been passed and what's on the governor's desk. And I can make copies for everybody, and I'm sure Audrey can tell us too. But it looks like they freed up some infrastructure
Nice.
money,
Good.
where in the last session, they were
Yeah,
shutting down all those grants possibilities, but they freed some more money up, so. But I'll make those synopsises available.
okay. Any other questions or comments?
So June 3rd would be the next meeting,
Yes.
June 3rd?
I believe.
There's also one Thursday night.
Special.
Yeah,
Yes.
this coming Thursday.
It's actually, it's a communications and meeting with the property owners of Tomahawk. It's just about their water bill, so.
That should be open to public.
Yes, it is.
It's only 16?
16th, Wednesday night. Okay. If there are no more comments or questions?
Yes, Thursday, yes. I was just thinking, I was like, it's Thursday.
That's too bad, I can't read either.
Thursday, 7?
Thursday at 7.
7:30, I think.
7:30.
Yeah, because Nate never, he usually doesn't get home till after 7 anyway, so.
And I'll call and remind you. Just in case.
Thank you.
Executive meeting, yes, so we close this meeting and open the executive meeting as soon as we do.
Well, you can't adjourn the regular meeting until you've completed this agenda item. And the reason for the closed meeting is pending litigation.
Right.
So move to adjourn until
Oh,
after
okay,
the
because-
executive session.
See, and I've done that before, just adjourn the regular session.
No, but adjourn it until after the executive session's been
And yeah,
held.
and that's what I
Then
did, but
adjourn.
they said that, somebody told me that wasn't right, so.
Oh, that is right.
Okay, so we will adjourn this meeting, at 9:15, and move on to executive session, so.
Party break?
Potty break, yes.
Yes, it's allowed.
Should we shut down the YouTube channels or?
Yes, please.
Shut those on?
Yeah.
Hey, Elton and Aaron, let me know when you think we need to meet again.
Yeah.
And we'll post it.
Tammy's,
One thing with that
interested
hydrant,
in
yeah,
getting
one
that
down there.
on the
So
zone.
kitty corner from it, there's a curb stop that doesn't work, so we're trying to line up like a 2-for-1 on that. Where if we're set up and dig